More than a week now since Proposal 1 was shot down by the voters, sending lawmakers back to the drawing board to try to come up with a road funding plan.
Actually, there are many, many drawing boards, and we're getting a glimpse at one of those drawing boards, a potential option that comes from the House Republicans. The group just wrapped up a news conference just a couple of minutes ago unveiling a plan that they say would generate $1 billion in road funds, and it would not involve directly raising taxes.
They say it's based on 4 principles: tax fairness, ensuring quality work, redistributing some restricted money, and dedicating more money from the general fund.
Now, some of the details include generating $117 million by eliminating the earned income tax credit, which benefits low and moderate income families. It would also move $185 million in restricted funds coming from the film subsidies, the tribal gaming compact, and a tobacco settlement. Finally, over the next 4 years, more money would be siphoned from the general fund, eventually using $700 million for roads.
The Republicans estimate that this would raise $522 million in the 2016 fiscal year, and by 2019, it would bring just over $1 billion. Now, joining us now from Lansing, Representative Jeff Farrington and Representative Tim Grimal.
We're going to start out with Mr. Farrington. Okay, we just went over the details of this plan. Let's dig a little deeper into some of them. First of all, you say tax fairness. What exactly does that mean, and to whom?
Well, basically, we're looking at 2 different things here. One, the EITC that you mentioned. The federal government gives 20%. At the state level, it's at 6%. And it's only been around for a couple of years. So that's one part of it. The other part is equity on the 2 types of gasoline. Right now, diesel is at 15 cents a gallon, gasoline's at 19 cents a gallon, so we want to bring equity to that.
You know, let me ask you particularly about that earned income tax credit. I get the idea there'll probably be a lot of pushback from some Democrats, even perhaps some Republicans as well. Prop 1, I believe, would have maybe even increased the earned income tax credit. In this, you're saying would get rid of it altogether. Is that right? Very controversial, I would think.
Well, that is correct. And remember, like I said, the federal government still has the earned income tax credit. The state of Michigan only does 6%. But yeah, it increased during Prop 1 because we had to get 2/3 votes to get it onto the ballot, and that was one of the things that got hung onto the Christmas tree. And quite honestly, part of the reason the proposal, I think, didn't go through was because it became too complicated, loaded with too many things. What we want to do is just focus on the roads, make sure that the money the taxpayers are paying in the state of Michigan are going for the roads, that's the top priority that we have.
All right, Mr. Farrington, also you say some more money would be coming from the general fund and also from restricted funds. Now, funds are generally restricted for a reason. They are developed that way so lawmakers keep their hands off of them, and you're proposing putting your hands on them.
Well, good point. There's different ways to do restricted funds. What we're looking at here is funds that were restricted by a vote of the legislature. So all we're doing is going back and saying, okay, those are dedicated at a certain time in history. We want to make sure at this point that the roads are the primary purpose. For instance, the tobacco settlement fund, the gaming funds that come in. Right now, that all goes to business development. What we're looking at is how can you have business development with crumbling roads? We want to make sure that the roads are taken care of first, because companies don't want to move here with the roads the way we're going to have them right now. So let's focus on this as a way to do business economic development.
You know, one of the things you talked about with dedicating general fund dollars, I know in part of the presentation you guys put out today, one of the big bullet points was future growth. Is it at all risky kind of counting on future growth, just not knowing what the future will bring?
No, I don't think so. I mean, anytime you look into the future, there's risk involved, whether you do it or not. I mean, this is what I look at is if we had come out with this plan 4 years ago when the governor first said we need to start handling it, I think we would have been in much better shape. The bigger risk is not doing anything, and we want to make sure we don't do that. So what we're talking about is we're going to dedicate about $175 million, $350 million, move it up incrementally over the next 4 years based upon growth that is projected in the general fund. So we're not going to be cutting any of the programs out there. It's basically 50-60% of the projection will be going towards roads, because again, it's all about prioritizing. The people have spoken, they want better roads, and we want to make sure that we deliver on that. So we're going to move heaven and earth to make sure it gets done.
Just a quick answer here. How confident are you that you think this plan as is would make it through the legislature?
I think it has very good probability of getting through the House. I don't think the governor or the Senate has had a chance to look at it, so I wouldn't want to speak for them.
All right. Well,
But
we'll let them.
it's the beginning of a process.
All right. It is indeed. Thank you very much for your time. And so we're going to let them speak for themselves then, if that's the plan right here. So we have with us Representative Tim Grimal, the Democratic leader of the House. Okay, you just heard this proposal and perhaps the news conference earlier. Thoughts on it?
Yeah. Hi, Joanne and Stephen, and thank you for having me on the program. This is not a serious proposal. It is a plan, in quotes, that relies on smoke and mirrors, supposed projected revenue growth, not actual dollars. It is not a credible long-term solution. It essentially is yet another patchwork plan that really does not solve our road problems long-term.
So there goes the nonpartisanship out the window in the first breath right there, sir.
Where do the Democrats have a plan?
Well, let me first say that this plan relies on increased taxes on the working poor. It does not require tax fairness through increased contributions from corporations. And it's not just Democrats in the House who are saying this is not a serious plan. I think you'll soon be hearing the governor and Senate Republicans agreeing that this is not a serious plan when it relies mostly on increased revenue in the future. It relies on future legislators to make wise decisions and appropriate money on an annual basis instead of dedicating money long-term to roads. To call this an accounting gimmick insults accounting gimmicks. This is not a long-term real solution.
I do want to ask you again, though, will you and your fellow Democrats be coming out with your own plan?
We will. That's very important. And our plan is going to abide by several key principles. Number one, it's got to be a real long-term fix. Number two, corporations have to pay their fair share. We can't just increase taxes on working people and middle-class families to pay for roads. And third, we've got to do more to protect our existing roads. That means long-term warranties should be required from all contractors to hold them accountable to fix the roads right the first time. And we've got to lower truck weights.
As you're well aware in politics, nobody gets everything. So what is it in your plan? What is it in the Republicans' plan that you see now, or anything else you've seen out there from either party that you expect might be that point to start the negotiations that we can actually make some progress?
Well, again, I think the first thing that we should do immediately that is common sense and everybody should agree on is let's lower the truck weights and let's require all contractors to have long-term warranties so they do the work right the first time.
Do you think we can do this without increasing taxes? We took a poll before the election, and some 35% of people said that they thought it would take a combination of finding revenue from other sources and increasing taxes.
I think it can be done without unduly burdening middle class and working families with ever higher taxes. I think that corporations, however, need to be required to pay more. They have gotten huge tax cuts over the course of the past 4 years, paid for by increased taxes on families, individuals, and seniors in our state. That's wrong. Corporations have to pony up and pay their fair share.
Mr. Grimal, thank you for your time. Hang loose for a second. Mr. Farrington's been listening to you rebut some of his points, so we thought we'd give him a chance to clear the air on things that you said about what he said. So, Mr. Farrington?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. As you can see, the political games are already beginning. It's too bad. Let's just fix the roads. But two of the points, one, it doesn't increase taxes on working families, so I don't know where he gets that from. But the other part of it is it does not depend on appropriations. What it does is that $700 million that we're going to reach in 4 years is going to be dedicated revenue. So it will not be an annual appropriation, which makes it a long-term plan. So $1 billion a year into perpetuity, if that's not long-term, I don't know what is.
I just want to say real quick, by getting rid of the earned income tax credit, though, I assume that that is what Representative Grimal is referring to there, because those people would end up paying more taxes than they are now.
Yeah. Well, actually, no, that's a tax subsidy. What you're doing is taxing one group of people and moving it over to another group of people. It's not a tax credit or a tax cut. It's a tax subsidy. We write checks out to people, basically.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Farrington, Mr. Grimal. Thank you both for your time today, and we certainly hope everybody in Lansing finds some common ground someplace and start getting this thing done.
I think we know why they're going to have to work through the summer.
Yeah, it's going to be a long summer. Thank you very much,
gentlemen, both of you. Still ahead on the Now Detroit, it's the controversy.